Hello, hello, hello. My name is Daisy Robles Magianes, and I'm a first-year student here at IU studying biotechnology. Today I will be talking about some of the important events in my life that shaped me, and I'll be analyzing those events through the developmental lenses that we've learned about thus far in class. So, around third grade, my family was comprised of me, my two brothers, my mom, and my dad. I loved our small family and the bond that we all had. So, when my mom told me she was pregnant one day, my world was completely rocked. Having Marissa was a big adjustment for me because at the time I was the youngest and most spoiled in the family. I was unfamiliar with the new addition to my family and dealt with a lot of jealousy during this time because I wasn't the center of attention. I had never been given the responsibility of taking care of and acting as a role model for someone else at such a young age because I was always the one being taken care of. At first, I wanted nothing to do with her and only cared about myself and the attention I wanted despite my parents' disapproval. Although it took a long time, I eventually did feel the need to form a bond with her based around trust and understanding. I really did want to be there for my sister more and more as we both matured and got along with one another better. Eventually, a stronger bond formed between us. Pretty soon, I felt myself wanting to be a guiding and positive force in her life. This experience is representative of Carol Gilligan's theory of moral development. Initially, I was in the orientation to individual survival stage in which I only cared about myself and what I wanted. As my relationship with my sister grew, I transitioned into the goodness as self-sacrifice because I realized that my sister needed me as a role model. At times, I had to put my own needs aside and put Marissa first so that she could grow up in a safe and positive environment. This event also indicates me reaching the post-conventional stage of Kohlberg's theory of moral development. Through this theory, I realized that I wanted to care for my sister not because I was expected to, but because of my own personal values. I grew to believe in the value of family and that we are all meant to look out for one another. School had always been a positive experience for me growing up, but middle school brought about many changes that I wouldn't completely understand until later on. Middle school actually ended up being kind of rough for me, and not just because I drew on my eyebrows like that, but because my friends and I were all trying to find out who we were in attempts to solidify our identities. Coming to terms with my newfound sexuality was especially foreign to me since I didn't even really know what it was I was feeling at first. As someone who came from a conservative family, the idea of differing from the norm was not a concept taught to me. I had to teach myself about what it meant to be part of the LGBT plus community, which at times was somewhat puzzling for me. Because of my parents' values, this was a topic I dealt with largely on my own, which was the source of a lot of pain, frustration, and confusion during this time. Despite these hardships, I was able to find some relief by talking to some of my friends who had gone through the same experiences. I was soon able to find a community of people who loved me for me and further led me to be at peace with who I was. Although I'm confident in who I am now, it took a long time to get to where I am. This experience is representative of Erik Erikson's lifespan model, specifically the adolescent stage from ages 12 to 18 years in which the individual develops a sense of self and personal identity. Although I am beyond this stage now, then I was coming to terms with one of the many identities that I used to define myself. I ran into some heavy hardships during this time, which ultimately led to a weakness in my sense of self. But as the lifespan model predicts, I developed the ability to stay true to myself the more I matured, allowing me to move ahead in the model. So transitioning into college, I felt pretty secure in my identity as a Mexican woman. However, I was never sure as to how I could participate in events that celebrated my culture. Growing up, I was raised in what I consider an American lifestyle. This dictated a large part of my identity for some time. While I've learned to break free of my upbringing and try and diversify my life, I still felt as though I wasn't surrounded by people who were like me culturally, and I felt as though I had no way of taking part in my culture. In taking my first Spanish class here at IU, I was surprised when my professor recommended that I audition for a play that was spoken entirely in Spanish. Getting casted and performing a play surrounded by others in the Spanish and Portuguese department, along with my friends and family, was a surreal experience, especially since the play was centered around a young girl finding her place in her culture, kind of like me. Overall, the experience made me feel like I had a safe space where I could be at one with who I was. This experience relates to the minority identity development model. In doing this play, I got closer to reaching the internalization stage in which individuals develop a secure and self-confident minority identity. I was able to feel more secure and confident in my identity, especially with being able to take part in my culture with others who I could relate to. Although I know I may not fully be in the internalization stage, or a time may come where I become less confident, this experience brought me that much closer to finding peace. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks so much for watching.